Good evening. Today I'm going to talk on handling of EUS guided FNA FNB specimens. I'm Dr. Anuradha Shekaran, pathologist, AIG Hospitals. For establishing an effective EUS service, it needs a collaboration between an experienced endoscopist and a cytopathologist to aim for getting an adequate sample for accurate processing, for accurate interpretation by the cytopathologist, and then a good line of communication between the cytopathologist and the endoscopist on the ability to determine what are the additional samples required for ancillary studies. Now, the rapid on-site evaluation models are different, varied on the institute to institute. So, it could be either the pathology residents or the consultant pathologist or a trained cytotechnician or the endosonographer himself looking at the slides for evaluation of the material. Now, advantages of ROSE are many. It decreases the number of non-diagnostic samples, which could be due to improper tissue collection, scanned cellularity, or crushing artifacts from poor slide handling and preparation. It reduces the number of passes in the lesion and determines whether additional samples will be required to perform ancillary studies. It reduces the patient discomfort, complications, and reduces the cost for healthcare system. Now, the best practice in tissue acquisition, it is desirable that you have a cellular tissue which is adequate for reporting and you get adequate material from a single needle pass. What is not desired is bloodiness of the slides. Now, usually the endosonologist tries to use a 22 gauge needle. There is no suction used, no stylet, and fanning the needle method is followed. Now, after the endosonologist gives the material, comes the most important step of how you handle this material for your accurate diagnosis. Using an air-filled syringe to expel the aspirated material is not preferred at all because it leads to scattering and loss of material. Using a stillet, it's a controlled method where the material is expelled drop by drop, and it's the most preferred method. Now, this is a video which is showing that how you make the smears and how you immediately fix it after acquiring the material. The first and the foremost thing that you do is you put a drop on the slide and then gently make a smear by spreading the material with another slide so as to create a single layer of cells with minimal or no distortion. Now, smearing is a well-crafted technique and it should be performed by a person who has acquired the skill and which is the first and foremost step for a good diagnosis. Incomplete smearing of the slide results in thick tissue fragments which are too dense to evaluate. Bloody, dilute and mucoid samples are difficult for untrained personnel to prepare the adequate smears. And one point to note is, irrespective of the needle or the method you use, one must be aware that sometimes you can get material which may not be diagnostic. For example, you may get more of the fibroblastic tissue or the desmoplastic stroma without any lesional tissue, where you cannot come to a correct diagnosis. Now, how many slides are exactly required? So, it is advocated that you do 2 to 3 slides per pass and use different fixations or stains, which I will cover in the coming slide. And how many needle passes should be performed for adequate material? At least 3 needle passes for lymph nodes and liver lesions, 5 for solid pancreatic masses, and a single pass for pancreatic cyst. And the subsequent material should be aspirated solely for preparation of your cell block for IHC, molecular or flow cytometric analysis. Now, once you take the slide, then you have to fix the slide, and there are 2 ways to do this. Either you go for wet fixation or dry fixation, or you can use some carrying solutions. Wet fixation is usually done by 95% ethyl alcohol, where you immerse the slides in a container containing 95% ethyl alcohol, and it prevents desiccation of the cells. Spray fixative eliminates the need for fixative containers. Dry fixation is done by methanol, and the carrying solutions are either your 10% formalin or your cytolite solutions. Advantages are you can process it as a histology specimen and it lyses the red cells and reduces protein precipitation. The most important point that the endosonologist must ensure immediately after doing the procedure is to see that he drops the slides immediately into the alcohol fixative after smearing in case a ROSE is not available. If air drying of the slides occurs prior to wet fixation, it results in poor staining of the slides, and this is going to compromise the entire procedure, and thereby we will not be able to get a definitive diagnosis. In practice, half slides should be alcohol fixed and half should be air dried. Another important point to do at the time of aspiration is to have a gross visual assessment of the material, which is a key point in coming to a diagnosis. So note whether the aspirate is mucinous, whether it's necrotic, blood tinged, it's a cystic fluid, or you have got a tissue. Now, mucinous material, you can get that it is associated with, probably you're dealing with a mucinous neoplasm, or it could be your gastroduodenal contaminants. Necrosis could indicate either malignancy or infection. Blood stain could indicate either trauma or that you're dealing with the vascular tumors like neuroendocrine tumors. Cyst fluids are usually clear, so this is very important that you note it. Otherwise, you might get a report that it is non-diagnostic if you don't provide adequate clinical information. And tissue is usually granular, so it is helpful to note that you have got adequate material. Now, this is just to show that it's an FNA from a pancreatic lesion from a well smeared and stained slides, where you can see that the cells are spread out in sheets and they are disorganized sheets. And if you go to the next 2-3 images, you can see that they are disorganized. There is loss of polarity, there is anisonucleosis, and there is increased cellularity. So, correlating this with your EUS mass, you can come to a diagnosis that possibly you are dealing with a well-differentiated ductal adenocarcinoma. Pitfalls of EUS FNA. 1, you may not be able to diagnose malignancy in hypocellular samples, maybe because there is also a lot of desmoplasia, and as we said, well-differentiated adenocarcinoma from chronic pancreatitis is challenging. And then there's false negativity, either because of your sampling error or interpretive errors. And all pathologists can interpret cytopathology. So this is where you can go for preparing a cell block, which is a complementary to your FNA smears. And how do you prepare these cell blocks? By aspirating the specimen and dropping it directly into a container having 10% formalin. It is advised that you go for 2 additional dedicated passes solely for the cell block preparation. And to maximize the cell recovery, the needle may be rinsed in 1 to 2 ml of a balanced salt solution, or you can use an RPI medium. And if you are aspirating more than 2 sites, it is very important that you mark the 2 sites. That is, for example, your primary mass and probably the second lymph nodal mass. Both should be kept in separate containers. And specimen is then fixed for 2 hours in formalin and routine processed. And then this is used as a tissue where you can further do your ancillary studies. So this is where we are dropping all the aspirated material directly into the container of 10% formalin, and this is how we prepare the cell blocks. So this is an example to show the cell block of pancreatic ductal adenocarcinoma. Note, though the tissue is paucicellular, it gives us an idea about the entire morphology. So even from this paucicellular tissue, if we are able to see such disorganized sheets with foamy gland pattern, we can diagnose with confidence that possibly, yes, we are dealing with a ductal adenocarcinoma, and you can see the background necrosis, and then you can go for additional IHC if required. Now, we have done FNA and then today's era of FNB, and of course, there are a lot of factors wherein the endocrinologist would determine whether the patient requires to go for FNA or FNB, which could be patient related or institute related, where you may not be having a trained cytopathologist, or you're dealing with a lesion factor which is a difficult location, or it's a small lesion, or you're suspecting lymphoma, neuroendocrine tumor, or autoimmune pancreatitis. Now, these needle core biopsies, the operator should be aware that the material obtained transluminally can be a composite of blood, GI contaminant, and possibly lesional material. The worm or core-like aspirates are typically semi-solid. They're easily friable, unlike the percutaneous breast or liver cores, which can maintain better specimen integrity. Now, how will histology impact EUS? Histology will help us to give a more accurate and a definitive diagnosis. It helps us to give tissue for more diagnostic testing and more ancillary testing, including IHC, electron microscopy, molecular testing, and it precludes the need for rows, which may not be available in all institutes. So just have a look at this picture where you have a good aspirate, a cell block, and an FNB, and the FNB definitely has course over the FNA and cell block, in that you can get the entire pattern of arrangement of the cells, and you can appreciate the glandular pattern and the varying glands infiltrating into the stroma, which is not possible in sometimes in your cell block, and FNA of course depends on the cytopathologist expertise. Then what are the other things which we can do to ensure that you have got a good tissue? So one, you can make touch smears by gently touching the core to a clean slide in several different locations or sliding the core tissue against the slide. This allows the superficial cells to be transferred to the cell while you can preserve the core for formalin fixation and further histology processing. So here you notice that we are placing the core tissue on a slide and then smearing it. You can then stain it with your Diffquick stain in your EUS suit to look for whether there is material or not even on your FNB. The caveat of FNB or core biopsy is sometimes you get very bloody samples and the tissue might be trapped in the clot, so it virtually obscures the material and so your imprints may not be useful. And then how do you handle such bloody specimens? One, examine the material while on a slide and see if any solid components are present and try to isolate the solid components and core-like tissues and separate it and place it in formalin, and then remaining softer tissues can be placed in a fixator for cell block preparation. So how you identify these tissue pieces? So of late we are getting many EUS guided liver FNAs and you get very long cores which can be very hemorrhagic. So if you actually see, this is post fixation, this whole linear worm like bit is a hemorrhagic core, but the one in the circles are your tissue bits. So how can you use to identify at the EUS room whether you have got adequate tissue or not? You can use saline to flush the blood clots and retrieve the white tissue cores. I will just show you a short video. So this here you are flushing the sample which is received with saline and then take a needle and try to separate the hemorrhagic cores and identify all the whitish cores and separate the whitish cores. So this way it will also help in knowing that you have got adequate tissue. So these are the cores which you have separated and then you can fix this in the cassette and subject it for fixation and tissue processing. So how many cores do you require? The burden of procuring enough tissue is dependent on the endosonologist who has to know what additional testing would he require if a cytopathologist is not available. So if the endosonologist wants to have additional material for ancillary tests, he should not make any further smears. Add all the rest of the material to 10% formalin bottle or a cytolite fixator. And every pass should have at least 4 drops of material. If we are trying to look for a lymphoma and we want to send tissue for flow cytometry, you should make several passes and then rinse the needle in RPMI and store it at 2 to 4 degrees centigrade. If you are having a fresh tissue or an FNB, directly place it in the medium. And if you are taking the specimen in cytolite or other cytology fixator or formalin, you cannot use this for flow cytometry. If you have more than 1 cc of blood with abundant necrotic material, it is advisable to repeat the FNA, and a fleck of blood from the edge of the necrotic lesion is ideal for procuring the cells. So what are all the ancillary studies which we can do based on your FNB or your cell block? We can do immunohistochemistry. For example, in case of pancreatic adenocarcinomas, we can do IMP3 and SMAD4. IMP3 is positive in your malignant cases and SMAD4 will highlight the benign pancreatic cells. So also in your neuroendocrine tumors where you need to grade the tumor and you have to do Ki67 to assess whether it is grade 1, 2 or 3. You can take for microbiological cultures. Electron microscopy, the tissue should be dropped in glutaraldehyde fixator. Flow cytometry, I've already said, we have to transfer the sample directly into isotonic saline or an RPMI, and at least we need 10,000 cells per sample to isolate the cells on the flow. You can even evaluate for hormone receptors like ER, PR in case you're thinking of a mucinous cystic neoplasm of the pancreas. You can do cytogenetics like KRAS or even NGS platform on your cell block, and further molecular diagnostics like TB PCR, FISH are all can be done by collecting one aspirate in a sterile container. So this is a procore biopsy where you can see that you have a very good tissue and you have a glands infiltrating the stroma. So this was where we have employed IHC IMP3 to show that it is positive. When we're dealing with cystic lesions, how do we go about? So once you have aspirated the cystic fluid, you should send it to the lab as much as you have collected. For molecular analysis, at least 0.3 cc is required. So in the lab, what we do, we try to centrifuge the fluid. We take the supernatant and submit it for CA, CA 19.9 and amylase analysis, and the cell button is taken after cytospinning for cytological analysis and for further cell block evaluation. To conclude, in the EUS FNA, it is advisable that in the first pass, you make only 2 slides per pass, take few slides for air dried and few for fixed slides for papiniculae staining. In the second pass, also you can make 2 slides, then take additional material for your cell block and for your microbiology or flow cytometric analysis, and needle rinses can be added to add to your cell block. The cytology histology correlation is the gold standard, and also it is advisable that the final report should be written in the light of any information provided by the special stains and ancillary studies. Thank you.